Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Ryan Snod. It rhymes with odd, and welcome to part one of my four-part series where I'm going to be breaking down how I got into my commercial space. I decided to make the jump in 2023, and in this video, I'm going to break down why I did it, some of the pros and cons if you're considering doing it for yourself as a videographer. So for a little background and context, I started my video production business probably 7 years ago. I wanted to try and keep my overhead as low as possible. So that meant working from home, that meant not buying a ton of extra gear, and that meant just really hustling really hard to make sure I had a good foundation for my business for the years going forward. Now that we're out of that stage in the business, I was starting to look at growth and how I could strategically start to position myself for that in the years to come. My wife and I have a son as well as a daughter that's on the way, so I like to have some space that is outside of my home that I can do my work. Second is I wanted a place to grow and have some room to grow. So in this space, I have 650 square feet. That is plenty of room for myself, as well as having another person office here with me, or have a part-time employee, which those are two very real possibilities in the next year or two that I'm looking at doing. Next is I wanted a very professional place to take clients. As I mentioned, I used to office from home, and I'd have a couple times where I would meet with new clients and I'd have to go to a neutral spot, like a Starbucks or a coffee shop or something like that, because I'd have to make that awkward explanation that, hey, I can't meet at my office because I don't have an office, I just work from home. So that kind of lowers my quality when I'm talking to bigger types of clients and they want to come to my space to see where I work. The next big benefit that I was looking for was a place that I could house my retainer clients that I have podcasts for. We'll have an entire video about this later in the series, but this was a huge sticking point for me as I was going every week to my clients. And by the time I got home, it had been like a 4 to 5 hour experience. Or now with having a podcast in-house, they can just come to me, we sit down, we leave everything set up, we record the show in an hour, they're out right away, and I can go back to what I was doing. So really, really big benefit there that it saves a ton of time. Another small and quick benefit was that it's going to offer another income stream where it's renting out this studio as an income stream, as well as having a rental spot. Again, opportunity for growth, but also rental income that could be up and above what I pay for rent here and make it into another profit stream. And lastly, and just kind of a little nag thing for me, I always had all of my gear stored in my Jeep. Now I can store it somewhere safe that's locked up, that's not at my house or not in my Jeep, so I can actually use my vehicle. So when I first started the search through this process, those were all the big benefits that were drawing me to get a space. Some of the downsides when I first started were definitely the cost. It's going to increase my overhead by more than I had been doing before because I was just officing from home. Next is the commitment. I have to really commit by having a lease, which I do for this place for 3 years, that I'm going to stay here for 3 years. I can't, get out of this very easily. And it's some kind of commitment there as well. And third, it's a lot of effort to get a new place scouted out, close a deal with a property manager or an owner, get in, paint, do all the organization, the renovation. It was a ton of extra time early on when I did that. So those are the big cons in terms of getting into the space for sure. So shifting gears into the search process, what did that look like when I first decided to go looking for a place to do all the things that we mentioned earlier? And I will just say this right now, guys, commercial real estate sucks to be looking for. But as a good commercial agent will tell you, they're typically looking for the larger enterprise clients that are looking to close a multiple $1 million building. For little guys like me, people usually weren't taking my calls, and I had to go out and search a lot on my own. The main site that I did to do this was LoopNet, which is a commercial, basically like Zillow site that you can go on and look at commercial real estate properties. Only problem with this is a lot of people don't keep LoopNet updated unless properties have been sitting for a while. So the only other really good option to do that is to drive around your local area and look for signs that say it's available for lease. So after months of doing this, I did end up looking at quite a few properties. Some of my criteria were I wanted to be within 15 minutes of my home because, again, ultimate convenience was working from home, so I didn't want to have to drive 30 to 40 minutes just to get to my office every day. Some of the other criteria is I wanted to stay under $2,000 a month in rent. That included all the utilities, the electrical, all that type of stuff. And third, I wanted something that I could grow into, so it wasn't so small that I was already going to outgrow it in 1 year. I wanted something that I could grow into over the years, whether it's hiring more people, building out sets, and all that type of stuff. So I looked for about 3 to 4 months, and here were kind of the options that I had laid out in front of me when I came to the decision table to decide what I wanted to do. Option number one was a space in my small town that I live in, and it was probably 5 minutes from my house. Super convenient, very nicely well done. I wouldn't have to renovate very much, if at all. But there was about 1,500 square feet in that space. And all-in cost for that every month was right at the top of my budget, which was about $2,000 a month. So that was option A. Option B was also in my small town. It was what was used to be a Snap Fitness that got converted and was going to be used at about probably 1,300 to 1,400 square feet. That was also in a very high traffic area, good location, but the agent was just a bear to work with. I would send them emails and not get a response for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. And they just really didn't know what they wanted to do with the space. If things were that hard early on, it wasn't worth my time if I was going to be working with these people for a long time. So that was option 2. Option 3 was a studio that was being built probably 20 minutes from my home by some people that I work with and some of my clients. They had bought an old gas station and were converting it into a podcast studio, office space, as well as like a photography studio. I went and toured it with them. It was a super cool concept, but they were going to take probably months, if not years, to get it to the point where it would be ready to move in and work out of. And for me, timing was everything. I was ready to do this decision now. And for me, I was doing it in my off season. So like January, February time. So I was trying to get it done in the springtime. So when my summertime came along, I was ready to go and I could go out and be on shoots and not working on the space. So that option was kind of off because it was just too many unknowns and too many things going on. And then lastly, I looked at a couple different other places that were new construction that they were wanting north of $26 per square foot. So to give you an idea, this little area I am in right now, this like probably 5 or 6 square feet. This would be over $100 a month just for this one little area that I'm sitting in right now. So between all of those, the last option that I had was the space that I'm in now. I actually sat down and made a T-chart for all of these, the pros and cons, but the reason that I picked the space that I'm in now is because it's an 11-minute drive from my house, so it's really convenient, really close by. 2, it's in a residential building that has 6 different residential units with my 1 commercial space in here. The reason for that being is there's not going to be a lot of people here during the day because a lot of them work 9-to-5 jobs. So while I'm here working, it's quieter. I have a lot more space to myself and there's not a lot of noise from other tenants. The other benefit was that the owner has owned this building for 20 years and they don't really hike up the rates too much on the rent. So it was one of the cheapest options that I had per month when I'm all in with all my costs. And the last reason why I decided to go with this is because the property owner that owns this runs a property management company. They have an in-house maintenance team and their entire full-time job is owning and managing these, and they were wonderful to work with. I think a lot of people overstep this in their decision process for finding this if they're going to lease because you have to be able to work with the owner. So once I decided I wanted to get this property, I told the owner that I was ready to do it. We ended up having a little bit of a negotiation and decided to lock in a 3-year lease for this. So by doing the 3-year lease with their agreement, they actually include a tenant improvement allowance or a TIA. And for people that don't know what that is, it's basically when you come into a unit for a commercial space, the owner will give you a certain amount of money that you can put towards the property to make it improved in quality. The owner will comp me back for those changes and take it off my rent or just send me a check. So my wife and I sat down and we put together this whole plan on how we were going to do the build out. And we ended up spending significantly less on the TIA. So what the owner ended up doing was taking that amount that they were going to give me, since I didn't spend it on the renovation, and they just credited it towards my rent. So essentially I got a couple months of free rent by not actually making those changes, by kind of being constricted on my budget. And that's helped me control costs significantly because I don't actually have to pay the first couple months while I'm in, so I can put that money into other things in my business. So that's where I will leave this video here, because in the next video in part 2, I'm going to sit down with my wife. We're going to talk about the entire layout, how we decided on the color schemes, or more so how she decided on the color schemes, layout, design, that type of thing. So if you have any questions about getting into a commercial space, or if you're thinking about that in your own business, leave them in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have and give you some ideas for your own production space or podcast studio if you're looking at building one out yourself. So really excited about this series. I hope you guys get a lot of value from it. If you do, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.